Yeah, so I just wanted to ask you about the seminar, the project purpose and the project purpose of the child and life cycles. And I'm just really curious actually what you mean by project purpose.
So the project purpose is really the time between the around the conception of the child. So it happens before the conception of the child. So anything that the parents experience in their lives as a couple and family are going to be taken into account. Their conscious thoughts, their unconscious thoughts, their unconscious desire for a child and their conscious desire for a child is going to be uh, kind of recorded in their cells, in their gametes, in the eggs of the woman and the sperm of the man. And so the project purpose of the child is going to be the addition of all those unconscious projections and atmosphere that is taking place before the conception of the child that is going to be recorded and felt and kind of uh, be taken into account by the child unconsciously. So, for example, if the couple before the conception of the child, they are not sure if they want to stay together, they don't have any child, and the couple is not working great. If in the mind of the dad and the father, they are thinking about, what's the point staying with this man or this woman, then this is going to be recorded in their cells. And so the child can take that into account and say, okay, so I'm here to make my parents stay together. Thanks to me, they stay together. And so it takes on this unconscious mission to make people stay together. And the child can have a specific name that may, so in English, I didn't think about an English name, but like Amélie in French, we know that Li means link and Am means soul. So Amélie, we know that there is this project of connecting the souls. So that's what the child is going to take unconsciously as a mission. I'm here to make my parents stay together. And it's just an example.
Wow. So I'm just curious how exploring, so you're saying that it all happens at conception, like everything is programmed at the moment of conception for how the trajectory of a person's life unfolds.
So a big track is going to be set up at this moment of conception. I would say the main track. So it will be very hard later on to change this track. Usually we follow this track our entire life until the day this track doesn't work for us anymore. And we are tired of not being able to follow a project that is in our mind. We would like to do something different, but we can't, and we feel blocked. And
Mm-hmm.
many times, those main tracks in our lives are programmed at the time of conception.
Mm-hmm.
So, for instance, I have a woman that I had not a long time ago. She um, couldn't conceive any children, and she was married, but her life with her husband had no meaning. And also, she and her husband wanted to move away for a very long time. But for some reason, she stays in the cities where her mother is. And she said, my mother is fine. My sister is over there. We can move, but for some reason, nothing is happening. So when we do the project purpose, we realize that she has the project of taking care of her mother. Her mother needed her at that time because she had two kids before her, and she needed a companion. She needed someone to help her because it was too much to take care of in the house with two kids. So she had this project to be there for her mom, which explained in a way why she didn't have kids, because her main mission in life was to take care of her mother. And
Hmm.
so once she realized that, suddenly everything made sense with her couple and her life. And finally, as we talk today, they are making plans to move out of the city. So something has unlocked.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So those tracks can be very, very strong in our lives. And once we resolve them, it unlocks a lot of things.
Huh.
We change literally our trajectory in life.
Well, your example just makes me think of a friend. I have a friend who's been trying so hard to get pregnant, really wants to get pregnant. And she's gotten pregnant several times, but then just miscarries early on, even before 3 months, or, and I'm just curious, could this have something to do with the life purpose? Or, I mean, could exploring this theme possibly be helpful in some way to her?
It can. So it could be one of the reasons, but especially with conception, we have many other reasons, unconscious reasons. And another theme here will be also in the transgenerational, which, as you know, we offer the transgenerational therapy as well, because a lot of infertility issues have also their origins in the transgenerational. It serves the family in a way not to have kids, but it
Hmm.
can also be a project purpose, like for this woman that I just mentioned,
Hmm.
that she needs to take care of her mother and not uh, of other people. So we don't know. The person is going to give us the answer anyway.
Mm-hmm. So could this be useful to people who, for example, are adopted and have no idea who their parents are, or people that weren't even, maybe just not even adopted, but just not living with their parents? I mean, how can they explore this without knowing their parents?
It doesn't matter if they know their biological parents or not. Everything is stored in memory inside of ourselves. So we know all the answers. And that's what biodecoding teaches you, is how to access the subconscious level, the subconscious, the biological subconscious. We think we don't know, but once you have the right techniques, which we teach in biodecoding, you can access everything.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've been working a lot with people who have been abandoned by their parents, or they just don't know what the situation of their parents were at the time of conception. Once you know how to use those techniques, you will see, you will be amazed how people access uh, the reality, the unconscious. And from experience, people, abandoned people who doesn't know anything about their adoptive parents, when they find their parents, guess what? Everything they found during the session, it has been confirmed by their biological parents when they find them.
Wow. Okay.
So we have to trust ourselves. And of course, as a therapist, you are trained to access this subconscious.
Mm-hmm. So in this, I know this is going to be a 4-day seminar. So will there be a way to access, will the participants be taught how to access the unconscious during this time, or is it going to be theoretical, or how does it work?
So, as any of our trainings, you have the theory, but the other part, a major part, will be the practice. So whether you learn it as a therapist or you just want to work on yourself, you are going to be able to experience. So we offer very specific protocols to access this project purpose of the child, and of course the life cycles. You are going also during these 4 days learn to identify the repetitive life cycles, the cycles that we tend to go through during our lives. We tend to repeat certain things, certain scenarios, and you are going to be offered very precise protocols that you will experience on yourself, and you will be amazed what you are going to find on your parents. When you think you know what your parents expected out of you, well, think twice. You are going to have many surprises. And
So
the good thing about it is after that, it's really a liberation that you feel, because suddenly you are able to connect all the dots, why you were doing this, why you pursued this career, why you have this kind of behavior with your mother or your father. Everything makes sense. And once you have identified it, you can free yourself from it. And that's how you can literally change the course of your destiny. And it's not a strong word, it's literally what is happening, what people experience after this kind of work on themselves.
wow. So basically, I mean, I'm just curious, do you have other life stories about like discoveries? I mean, I'm just curious. So what we think, if you're hearing your whole life, your parents are saying you should be a doctor, you should be a lawyer, you should do this, and but you're saying that, is that not congruent often with what actually has been infused into in the project purpose? Or I mean, like, I guess you're saying that this project purpose and the conception has more power over all the social environment and the social conditioning.
It has a lot of power on our life, that's for sure. Now, the good news is that not all those unconscious projections from our parents are negative. Luckily, we have positive ones. But we have two parents, and we sometimes the project purpose of one parent can be the opposite of the other parent. For instance, I'm going to give an example of a woman. She wants to work for herself, and she's tired of working for a company, but for some reason she cannot change, she cannot make the move. So she knows what she wants to do, she has all her plans, business plans, etc., but she cannot make the step. So we can see that here there is a fight between what I'm doing and what I really want to do, it what really animates me, inside of me. And once we did the project purpose of the parents, we can see that at the time of her conception, her mom couldn't stand her job anymore, but because they needed the salary to have a child, to build a family, then she had to stay. And the father, he was happy with his job. For him, a job is security. In a big company, it's a security. And even better, if he could have had work for the government, it would have been better. For him, it was security in the job. That was what was important. And he was dreaming for a government job for his children, his kids. So we can see the opposition between the two. And once she realized that, then the magic of this work is not to do the wishes of our parents, is to give us back the choice of what we want for ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And then it becomes a choice. Do I want the security of the job? Does it fit my aspirations? Or no, I prefer freedom and risk and excitement and adventure. And then I can really make a choice.
Mm.
So the same for this woman. She decided to make a choice, and she found a balance between the two. She kept her job part-time. She was able to negotiate, and she started her business. So then after, it's really a choice, and we find what works for us, not for our parents anymore.
Huh. So it can really explain why sometimes we want to take certain actions, but we find ourselves immobile without, and we don't understand it, or we're in a pattern and we just don't understand, like we're conscious of it, but we can't shift it. I mean, would you say that this is one of the reasons often?
Often, yes. I find that very often. Each time I see a pattern or someone that is stuck, you can see that they are that close of wanting to make a change, but there is something that is blocking, either way, with their mental, their emotional, or materially, there is something that is blocking, and they are stuck in the same role, in the same pattern, the same job, the same whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Many, many times we have to go back to the project purpose.
Mm-hmm. Wow. So I'm curious because I know the seminar will talk about it deals also with the life cycles, the biological life cycle. So how are they connected, or are they connected? And what do you mean by the cycles?
So cycles, I invite people to watch the video that Linda DeMussy did. So Linda is the teacher who is going to teach the project purpose and the life cycles, because she explained that very well. So, in life, everything goes through cycles. We know with nature, we know with the moon, with the seasons, and even in our own body, the cells go through their own life cycles. Like I think it's the blood cells, they have a 120-day cycle. So that's their life span. And every 120 days, they renew themselves. And so in our own life, we have also cycles. We set up some cycles. And you are going to learn what are those cycles. So the first one is the main one, the one that is going to set up the following cycles in our life. So from the time we were born to the time we gain our independence. So from the time we got out of our mother's womb to the time we get from the family womb, so the mom and dad, this is our first life cycle. And we have positive life events that are going to happen. Those we don't change. And we are going to have some negative things that either way we can resolve them consciously or unconsciously. And sometimes we cannot resolve them. And those events that are not resolved are the ones that will tend to repeat themselves in our following life cycle. Because life is all about resolution. Everything that is not resolved is stuck in memory. It's on standby until the next opportunity is given to us. And so that's how we tend to repeat certain things, because biology is going to grab the first opportunity to be able to resolve what has not been resolved in the past.
Mm-hmm.
So, for instance, I try to find a very concrete example here. A typical one that comes very regularly. So let's say that a 7 years old girl experienced the divorce of her parents. Well, depending on her life cycles, or if she becomes independent at 20 years old, then we'll know that at 27 years old, she's going to experience something in her life that is going to be connected to this event that was not resolved. So let's say for this young woman, at 27 years old, she gets married. So it could be a repair of what she has experienced during her childhood. So what she was not able to resolve there, which is keep her parents married, she will do it. She will get married. Or It can be the opposite. Let's say she got married at 20 years old. She's going to go through a divorce at 27 years old, at the same anniversary date than her parents got divorced. So we can
Because
have
at
different
age
scenarios.
7, she experienced a divorce. So now that's setting up is it like a 7-year cycle?
So for her, let's say she became independent at 20 years old. So she will start a new life cycle at 20 years old. So the first life
Oh,
cycle
okay.
would be 0, and then you count 7 years and it makes 27. It's just an example, but you are going to learn your own life cycles, and you are going to be able also to learn your clients' life cycles and see what is repaired, what is resolved, and what tends to repeat themselves. I had a client, it was so clear that every 10 years she would have a car accident. And it started when she was 10 years old and she went through a car accident. So for her, every 10 years, she would go through a car accident. Never got in a big one, just small little ones. Only the car would be affected, not her. But every 10 years, I had 5 car accidents. And when I started doing her life cycles, I was like counting, and I'm like, every 10 years.
Wow.
So she never noticed that. She only noticed that during the session. And she was like, wow. And just by realizing that, she broke her cycle because the following year was the 10 years anniversary. And she didn't get any car accident the following year. So just by becoming aware, she broke her cycle of 10 years.
But so she broke it just by awareness, but did you know what generated, like what it was a symptom of some, you didn't have to know that.
No, because she had a major issue, health issue she needed to work on. So we work on that one. But once I was doing her life cycle, I asked people's life events. And I've noticed that. And I had to tell her, it was so obvious.
Uh-huh.
I had to tell her, especially it was coming the next year.
Okay. Are these cycles always set in like in early childhood, or can we develop cycles later, or are they always a product of early childhood?
Most of them, they are programmed during the first life cycle of the person. We have different life cycles. As we are aging, we have 2, 3, 4 cycles. The majority is programmed already during the first one. And then, of course, we can program other ones, as we are getting older. And it's rarer, but we can find them too.
So when you say the first life cycle, meaning that what you described is from the moment of birth until the person leaves home?
Yes, or becomes independent.
So that's what you call the first life cycle.
Yes.
Okay. I'm just curiosity. I mean, what I thought of, there was a time in my life, not that long, I mean, I don't know, probably the end of my 30s. But actually it was even earlier, I think even the end of my 20s, but I had this recurring like conjunctivitis. And I would notice it would come at the same time. It was always fall. And I felt like I started noticing like every year at this time, I would get conjunctivitis. Now, is that just random, or would that be an example of some of the cycle? And how do you know when it's random and coincidental and when it's a cycle?
So here I will go more to what I call the allergic reaction. So to the anniversary date or day, which is different, which you learn during the level 1 training.
Mm.
And it's what we call, chronicity. So it's more like an allergic kind of reaction,
Okay.
like every fall I have this reaction. So it will be something different here.
Okay.
And we
Yeah.
will have the same to find the very first moment when it started. what happened around that time.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
Well, that sounds interesting. I'm just curious if I mean, you've given examples from clients. I'm just curious in your own experience, what difference it has made when you explored in your own life, when you explored these themes.
Yeah, I have a good one that happened 3 years ago that I didn't realize. So I left France, I forgot the year, in 2003, if I'm correct, 2002 to 2003, in January. And 3 years ago, I went back to France, and I was doing the seminar with Christian Flesch on project purpose and life cycle. And so, like with the students, I would do mine, while they were doing theirs. And I realized that I was at the anniversary date. So when I came back to the US, it was also in January, the 10th and the 17th. So it was very close to each other in terms of date. And I was exactly on my life cycle. So the previous life cycle, I left for the US. And for the third life cycle, I went back to France for a year. But the day I left and I went back to the US corresponded exactly to the day and the anniversary date of when I left the first time. And that
Wow.
was one of I was like, wow,
It's so fascinating because we don't do these things consciously at all, right?
not at all. And the months, they were only 7 days difference. So the first time I left January the 17th, and the second time it was January the 10th.
Mm-hmm.
So it's how precise it is, and sometimes it's day for day. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. So we think that most of the time we think we do things because we chose it, or we decided about it. But once you start paying attention, once you get this knowledge, you realize that it corresponds to other past events. So we can break this and make real choices once we become aware of those cycles.
So I just have to ask this, but this whole law of attraction and this idea that's been so prevalent for the last 15, 20 years about creating your reality. So is it all bullshit? I mean, because is it really is it bullshit until we do these seminars and come into consciousness? Because otherwise it sounds like we're just a product of these unconscious drives or cycles or.
I hate to say that because I'm like most of us. I make my own choices, and I like to think that I'm free of my choices. But no, we are the product of our unconscious 99% of the time.
Wow.
I hate to say that. My ego doesn't like that. But it's been 20 years I've been working with biodecoding, and at the end, I'm looking at my clients, looking at myself, I can only say, okay, I didn't do that out of choice. I did that because there were an unconscious something behind that choice.
Mm-hmm.
And it's okay, nothing wrong. It's just, to become aware. And for the negative ones, only the negative ones, we need to work on that. The rest, we keep it, what is successful, we keep it. What brings us happiness, we keep it. We only work on those that really affect us negatively in our life. So we don't have that many, hopefully.
Wow. Yeah. It's so counterculture, isn't it, right now, to think that, yeah, we really only have choice when we've explored our unconscious.
We have only choice within the spectrum of our consciousness. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
The rest is, call it fate, destiny, but it's not really ours.
Mm-hmm.
But the more work you do, and that's why biodecoding is really important, is because you become aware of all those unconscious things within you. Whether you do the level 1 training or you do the advanced courses like the project purpose of the child, every protocol, everything you do, it is broadening, is widening your range of consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, you have more range to act really out of choice. And every step you do, every learning, every concept you learn is just doing like, not this, is doing like this.
Mm-hmm.
Free a lot of space of choice and freedom. And
Mm-hmm.
that's why I've been doing biodecoding for 20 years, because it really frees bigger and bigger and big chunk of awareness.
Yeah.
And of
Yeah, when you
course,
say that, it gives me the image of the blinders on a horse, right? Like just taking off the blinders. And of course, you have so many more directions you can go in, if you
yeah,
take off the blinders.
yeah. We have the choice. The reality is that we have the choice. When we say we don't have choice, the better word to say that is we don't have consciousness.
Hmm.
That's the reality. Because we are unlimited beings. We can create whatever we want, literally. We are just stuck because of those walls of unconsciousness. What is behind those walls? We don't know what is at stake behind those walls. And this is what is behind those walls that trace really our tracks in life. Once you remove the walls one by one, then you have really the choice, and you can really create what you want, your aspirations, your dreams, etc.
Hmm.
So that's what biodecoding brings, is to create your life, to bring back your power of choice within you.
Wow. Sign me
All
up.
right. Pleasure. We're waiting for you all to discover these really powerful tools. It's unlimited, and come and discover. We'll bring, we'll put the links for more information, and
So
we
it's
are looking
the
forward
end of the first, the project purpose is the end of September, right? And then the
end of
second part is
September.
October.
Yes, so it will be in 2 parts, 2 weekends. So you can free your time
Mhm.
and be there with us.
Okay. Thank
All right.
you.
Thank you. See you soon.